now I'm the host of this section. I'm the facilitator of the session. So there we go. He's starting back. Good.
I'd just like to pass the word down to Yuko, who is Ecocivilisation Wing for Japan. And she will introduce her guests, and we are all ears. Yuko, the word is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Like Violeta said, my name is Yuko, and I am so excited to share this space with you. And I have two incredible guests with me, and that we get to spend time together. And before we start, I would love for all of us to take a breath together. Yes, mainly because I need it. And if you can put your hands here in your heart chest, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Let's take deep inhale in and exhale out. Let's do 2 more. Inhale in and exhale out. Last time, deep inhale in and exhale. All right. Thank you and welcome, everyone. And again, I just want to say thank you for having this incredible opportunity to connect and learn from each other. It's been such a healing journey. And before we get started to talk about this beautiful ancient future wisdom of Japan, I would love to introduce 2 of my guests. And the first we have Miss Hitomi Mima. If you can wave, great. We actually went to high school together back in Japan, and she is a producer of a film called Siblings. Her vision is to create a society where everyone can unleash their passion regardless of disability. And as a producer, she raised over 200% of her production costs through crowdfunding, reaching out to community through art and storytelling. She's been changing Japan, changing the people's hearts. So I'm so incredibly honored to be with you today. And this is my second guest, Yasuda-san, if you can wave your hands. Yasuda-san is a CEO of Vintage Management, a consulting company to solve global problems with Japanese technology and services. And he is actually based in Singapore at this moment. And so 2 of them are very early in the morning. So this is where we are already connecting. I don't know what time it is, Violeta, right now. And I'm really surprised and excited that you're here. And yes,
1 o'clock in the morning.
There you go. The world connects. So before I continue, I would love for pass mic to my incredible guests to quickly introduce themselves from their own word and talk about their passion. And Mima-san, お願いします。
I already Yuko introduced me enough, but actually my name is Hitomi Mima. Nice to meet you. As already she talked, I am a sibling of the person with the mental disability, and then it is called 𝐂𝐬𝐢𝐞 in hiragana in Japanese in Japan, and then it is not unknown that the 𝐂𝐬 siblings also have a lot of the struggles in their lives. So I made a movie based on my life, and for very hopefully the movie has been already celebrated and yeah, celebrating all over the world. And so I hopefully if you have the chance, and please watch my movie. Thank you.
安田さん、よろしくお願いします。
Hi. Hello, everyone. Yasuda here. I've been in Singapore for 8 years already with my wife and 2 kids. Then now 7 a.m. In Singapore. Glad to meet you, everyone.
Amazing. So three of us, all of us lived inside of Japan as well as outside of Japan. So we get to see Japan from a different perspective. And it's such an interesting country. Japan is a small island, but also very rich in a complex history. And many people have a very strong idea about Japan. And actually I want to start first with Yasuda-san. He actually published a book called 日本人として海外に挑む, which means challenging the world as a Japanese. And he's been actively studying the strength and weakness of Japan. And I would love to hear from you, what in your opinion, that strength and weakness of Japan that you would like to share right now.
Thank you, Yuko. Yes, I realize we Japanese have a lot of strengths and also many weaknesses compared to other countries' people. Then one of the biggest strength point of Japanese is we have a history and mind to coexist with nature from the ancient. Because we, as you know, we have many natural disasters in my country. We realize we cannot control nature at all. Actually, we have 4 seasons, and some winter we have heavy snow. Then we cannot active anymore. But we cannot control snow. Then at the end, we realize, we cannot control and manage the nature. In conclusion, we need to coexist with nature, and also we unite with the people. So as you can see, is there many video when a natural disaster happen in Japan? Many Japanese people not to be violent, very how can I say, managed by themselves. So actually, no one teach how to manage yourself in school, but we feel and we learn from the nature. Then also, I love the word. If people not see you, the sun see you. It means our behavior is watched by nature. Actually, sun is one of our God. So sun see you. So please be honest to yourself, to be honest to the nature. This is one of the biggest behavior of Japanese.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, as I mentioned, like being an island, we learn so much things from the nature, and we often say 𝐬𝐻𝕠𝐻𝐼𝐻, which means everything has a God. Right? And so we surrender to the nature, we learn from nature, and we coexist with nature, as Mr. Yasuda said. I'll also like to ask Hitomi-san the same question. What do you think the strength and weakness of Japan and Japanese people in this day and age?
Yeah, actually, as already the Akira says, that there is a concept that sun is watching us and nature is watching us, and then so that Japan is kind of that it's the only the nation that values total harmony. Japanese values the total harmony, so including nature. So maybe sometimes they don't values on its own self, their own selves, so that as modern, the harmony is more important than their selves. So it might be good and bad because that some people are sometimes cannot understand what they want to in individual, but they feel nature, and they see what is expected by the nature or the surrounding talented person. So sometimes it might be weakness point, and might be strong points, but it starts. The weakness point, it might be that it means that it starts from the how can I say, everyone, its start point is that everyone is the same. Everyone thinks that nature is better, the stronger than us. So the start point is not the everyone is different. The thinking start point is everyone will think samely. So that it means the many people will strongly get together, but sometimes it will be weak point that because we cannot accept difference. So that is the strongest point and the weak point, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really important to acknowledge how we connected as in a larger sense, the community as a country, right? In the larger sense, community as a country, but the collective harmony, like as Lima-san said, it is a total harmony. It's so important. So I think that's one of the strength. And also, as she mentioned, like being different can be really hard. And speaking of being different, 3 of us are here, and the Violetta started this segment with Japanese people are really good at listening, and 3 of us are speaking up. So that on its own, we're considered a little bit different, perhaps. And like living in another country, also very different, I think. So we talked about spirituality and like the living with the nature, and Japan is very much known for how we separate trash. I don't know if any of you are familiar. Japan is known as a very meticulous at separating trash. It's like there are 7 or 10 different trash bins, and my nephew separates all these trashes better than I would sort it out. So in terms of living in a harmony and talking about sustainability, what are something that we can share as a Japanese people with the rest of the world that to live sustainably, to live with nature? What are something that we think we can share with the world? Minama-san demo, Yasuda-san demo,
Okay, so apart from that, do you know how old is Japan this year? Actually, almost of the Japanese don't know how old Japan is. Actually, this year, Japan is 2,682 years old in this year. This is world oldest country in the world. Then also, we have many longer historical company. For example, the company history is continue more than 100, 200, 300 years. So our basic mind of Japanese is to continue to sustain is beautiful. Also, not gain everything. So this is our basic mind, and we know how to sustain, how to continue. Collaborate with others and also collaborate with nature. This is our basic mind. But nowadays, young generations, including me, it's very difficult to feel that. But our ancient, also our grandpa and grandma knows how to sustain our lives. So we need to learn more from my grandma and grandpa, and also our ancient as well. Yeah, so this is a basic mindset of Japanese sustainability.
What are something that you learned from your grandparents?
Sorry?
What are some stuff that you learned from your grandparents that you would like to keep it and pass it on to your children or the next generation?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, my grandma teach me don't waste of your belongings. It means to manage well when once you get. My family try to use longer once we get it. So if broken, repair. It's one of our family not family recipe, but this is a very important mind to my family. Yeah.
I love that. Keep it longer. I'll ask the same question to you, Mima-san. What is something that you learned from grandparents or your grandparents, perhaps, or any ancestor that you want to pass along?
Right. Recently, also we have. I mean, Japanese also have some cultural thinking, like earning money more and retire early is the goal in our life. But it is not the fundamental, the cultural base in Japan. Actually, maybe my grandmother's the generations that working is the all time, the whole life things working. I mean, working until this is the normal things. No concept of the retirement. I mean, in Japan, as already we said, and the values in the total harmony. So, and also the sun is watching. So that until the end, we also all the time the devote ourselves and being loyal to myself, to itself until their death. So that I mean, actually, there's no the concept of the retirement or like the work value is not on. It's not on making money more. Just that they're working as human beings or just contribute myself to the world or nature. Like that, that is a spiritual, the fundamental spirituality. But recently, we have a lot of the concept, and then we accept the all over the world, from all over the world, around many kind of the concepts. So, I mean, the recent the generation is a little bit confused, and which the concept or the cultural base should be taken from it. Like so we should learn the old portions of, I mean, the fundamental spirituality, I think.
I do agree. I think Japan has changed drastically in the last 100 years or so. So much Western information come in, and with the innovation of technology, so much information. And I find that a lot in language. And there are so many Japanese philosophy and value that we can say in Japanese language, and yet having a hard time translating that in English. And I think the other day when we were trying to come up with the plot line of this conversation, something that came out of like ikigai as one of the things, and some of you might be familiar with the concept of ikigai. But for us Japanese people, that it really is what Mima-san just said. There's no concept of retirement. It really is about serving to the community, serving to the people, living with the nature. That itself is very much on an ikigai, and being in a harmony with people. So I would love to actually ask, what are some of the concepts that you love in Japanese language that you might not be be able to translate, but also some like ideas or philosophy that you would like to share with the people right now. 最初に日本語で言ってもらえたら嬉しいかも。
安田さんどうです？なんだろ
生きがい。生きがいはそうだ。生きがい。
さっきもおっしゃいましたけど、樽を知るそうですね。
ああ、そうだね。樽を知る。樽を知る。そうだね。樽を知る。あと、働くもそうだよね。働く。働くって旗を楽にするって意味があって、多分これ、ジョブとかワークとは全く違う概念で、ね、働くで旗を楽にするっていう、この他人の負荷を下げるみたいなのはあるかもね。
それを英語でちょっとシェアできますか？
Okay, I love the word 働く。Maybe you go will write in the chat.
Oh, your sound went away.
Can you hear me?
No,
Okay. Yes. Okay. Hataraku. If you translate hataraku directly into your dictionary, it's just translate a work or a job. But the hataraku in Japan means we have two parts. Hataraku. The hata means others. Others. Then raku means relax. Yes, relax or なんだろうね、楽にする。フリーなのかな？ Free. Yeah, so it means if I 働く, someone could be free, could be relaxed, could be thankful to me. So this is the meaning of 働く. So if I contribute something, someone will be happy. So this is the concept of 働く. I love this word. Then if we have this word, I definitely continue my work, my 働く until the end of my life, because I want to contribute to anyone, let others relax. So this is a concept of 働く.
So that 働く shows the Japanese spirituality, the fundamental spirituality. I think. I mean that maybe the old in the several decade and in many years ago, that many Japanese people that cannot select their own lives. I mean, just that they follow their own life. I mean, if they are born in the somewhere else, and they have to choose the several choices. They cannot go to abroad. They cannot go to the different area in Japan. But even though they cannot choose their own life, but they accept their own lives, the choices, and then do hataraku. They contribute their own selves to make people happy, make someone free, and then they try to find out their own meanings and working meaning. Hataraku means working when we translate it in English, but they try to find their own meanings of the hataraku, working, and then all the time they contribute themselves to, and then if their mind is that if we continue to hataraku, continue to hataraku, that someone will watching me or watching us, and then something good will happen. Like their spirituality like that. So I also, the hataraku means good word in Japanese.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I think I think Japan, again, going back to us being an island, like it really knows the surrounding, really knows that we are all we got, right? It's only recent that we're able to freely travel abroad or travel anywhere, and for that matter. And especially with the COVID, we all know how to be in one space. So we really know how to support each other with what we got. And talking about, Hitomi just shared a little bit about, like, when we are born in something, you are born in something. And I think, I don't know about some of you know, but Japan actually had a caste system, and like not too long ago. So that is a very, very strong. And I'm curious, because there are some East Asia folks and Asian folks in here, and I'd love to see if anybody else would love to share any Trang, I believe, Trang, I'm sorry, did I pronounce it right? And if you would have any like philosophy or like a spirituality that you would like to share that only exists in your language, but would love to share with the folks who are here.
It's really hard to think on spot right now because I think there are many, but in terms of language, there's a story that I heard from one of the minority ethnic groups in Vietnam, which I shared with Violetta earlier. And this custom is, I think, is being lost, because I heard about it from a very rural group of just a few families living deep in the forest in the northern areas of Vietnam. So in that minority ethnic group, whenever there's a wedding, they call it, I don't remember the exact word in their local language, but they call it something that means a happy day that everyone can share. So on that day, people come to the wedding and party, of course. Then after the wedding, the new wife and husband go to their new home and enjoy their marriage life. And on that same day, anyone in the village who would like to meet up with each other, whether they are married or not, already partnered with someone or not, it doesn't matter, as long as there's consent from both sides. The man and woman who wants to meet each other and be with each other will meet each other in the forest and share that happy day, like the newly married couple. And nobody judge anyone else for that. And then they go home and live their normal life after that wedding day. So the person who told me this story thought that is quite observed and really like morally disruptive. That's what he said. And I found it really interesting when they have such open mindset on a very taboo topic in Vietnam, which is sexual life. And I also learned that in that village, it's actually very normal for parents and children and grandchildren to talk openly about sexuality and their sexual life. It's understandable since they live quite in isolated life. So how else can they learn about this topic without talking to each other? And there are books written by mothers to pass on their daughters when she grows up, to teach her about sex and about couple life and a marriage, which I think is also very beautiful. And I'm, like when I heard that story, I started thinking, what would happen if I write my own book to pass on to my daughter in the future? I think that's a wonderful journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that, like, mothers passing on the story and just sharing the knowledge. That is beautiful. And talk about, just want to, because I'm an artist, I want to put in a little bit of creative things. We have made the movie, and yes, the Sun has published a book. So I would love to ask, like what creativity can be a great addition to keeping this tradition, keeping these spirits, and keeping all culture, and really learn from our ancestors and passing on to the next generation. What is the benefit of storytelling? Ima-san, you're muted if you're talking.
Okay, thank you. Really, benefit of the storytelling. I mean, actually, even though that Japanese, the original spirit is great things, but as already I told you, that as a big point, we might be we might not accept the differences, so that it comes to that discriminating of or discriminating of the person with disabilities, and also they tend to hide such people if the families have the person with disabilities. They try to hide, and they don't appeal that we have such person with the disability in all cases. That it is not everyone is accepted. I mean, so the recently the people who have family with a disability try to show, and we have such family people, and also the person with the disability itself also try to share that we are here, and then they don't the society don't accept ourselves, that please accept that, and they try to show that their own the personalities and then their own existence, but still there is they are not so welcome to the diversity. So I created the movies, and then movies can deliver the visualizing the story. So even though people don't imagine or cannot even though people cannot imagine that how struggles the person with the disabilities and their families have maybe the visualizing the movie will deliver that image and also that experiences, and then the people can try to understand that that is the struggles. So I created that, and then so now Japan also wants to go to the next stage. I want to Japan to go to the next stage. That having that all the spirituals, the good things, and then try to go to the next step, and then try to go to the accept diversities, and then people will be different, and that will create storytellings might be might be good. I believe.
Yasuda-san, どうですか?
Yuko, may I clarify what is the question right now?
Yeah, and then just what is the good benefit of storytelling, and like, how can we utilize storytelling to really share the wisdom and pass that to our next generation or the people outside of Japan or outside Far East Asia?
Or it's storytelling for let people understand what Japan is.
Yeah, and you actually published a book about it, so I'm curious.
Okay. First of all, we have a belief that human nature is fundamentally good. So this is our basic concept. So some of the country cannot believe, but almost of the business transaction, small transaction, we don't have contract. We contract in verbal. So it's based on trust. So someone written in the chat. So our basic relationship between human being is trust. So of course, sometimes we fail based on trust because someone cheating, someone have bad behavior. But I love trust because if I trust you, also our mindset of Japan, that's all. Then give and take is one of the concept, but I feel many Japanese believe give and happy. So this is our concept. If I gave, maybe I have not taken in my life, but in the future, our children and grandchildren might give from his relevant. So this is very important to understand Japanese. So Japanese. I guess you have some Japanese friend in your life, and many of Japanese promise the time very properly. So if I say we start a meeting at 8 a.m., we definitely start at 8 a.m. But almost of the Asian country do not cannot start properly at all. Yes, so our promise is very important because it's connect to trust of yourself. So Japanese, I promise the word I promise you is very, very big word to Japanese. Yeah. So one of the big points to communicate with Japanese and understand Japanese culture, we respect promise and trust. Yes.
I love that. Thank you so much. And if it's okay, before we're in the second half of it, and if anybody has a question, please feel free to ask us. We're here to learn from each other. We're here to connect with each other. And Japan has a very interesting perspective from outside view, I think. Very interesting perspective. And people think it's all about Tokyo or it's all about like Osaka and Kyoto, but there are so much more. There's so much more. And depending on where it is, it completely looks like a foreign country. So we have a very different connection with nature, very different connection with language, very different connection with community. And I think it's so important that we get to share that and I would imagine Vietnam the same too. People might have a certain image about Vietnam when people think, hey, I'm from Vietnam, like you're from so-and-so. No, it's not one-dimensional. Just like when we talk about Asia, Asia is so much bigger than, Asia is not a monolith. So if you have any question, please feel free to put that into the chat or mute yourself, and I would love to hear anything in that regard. So please feel free to unmute yourself as well. Yeah.
I'm munching on some stuff, and I apologize, but I'll jump in from the standpoint, and I did put it in the chat. I just love the notion of the retirement not being a thing. And I so resonate with that from the standpoint of when we stop and think about compartmentalizing our lives that way. It's almost like, you know, we don't retire from life. So what I gathered from that is more of an embracing of all the life stages. And I wonder about the valuing of elders in the Japanese culture. So that was one of the things that I was wondering if you'd speak more about. And something else that I'm just curious about, and I haven't done too much reading on this, but I've done a little bit, is any stories around how, you know, the issues of social change and climate change and innovation these days are being addressed. Because I think there are some novel things that are being tried around the environmental issues, the flooding, stuff like that. So any stories to share about that would be, of course, be of interest.
Mhm.
And I think this is also a very Japanese thing.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that, right?
Okay.
It's like who's gonna go first? Like really taking time to observe and take in the question that has been given from Donna, I think, and also respecting the space for each other. It's like, if you want to go, please, you have the space, rather than, oh, I have something to share, let me share it. I think that's a very Japanese thing and a very Asia thing.
And I was going to jump in and just say, or just make stuff up. I was just going to be playful at this hour and say, if you haven't got anything, make shit up. But anyway, whatever goes is cool.
Anybody wants to share anything? I have one thing. Okay. One of the things that I would love to share, this is something that I share with people in my community all the time. There is a concept of leave a space better than you find, right? And I think what I learned, where I learned is really from school. And in Japan, after school, like whether you're first grade or fifth grade, there is a time to clean your classroom. There is a time to clean your bathroom. And that sometimes, like, it is a time to clean the community. You go out and do the street cleaning. As a child, I hated that. Why do we got to do it? However, now that I'm an adult, now that I'm here, I can really see that that has given us an opportunity to really see that this is a shared space. This is not only my space, it's your space. It taught me about how I show up and how I take care of the shared space and the resources, and it really gave me the sense of being a part of the community. So that is something that I really cherish and value, and really leaving the space better for the next person. And by leaving the space better than you find, and you're actually like being taken care of yourself as well. And you are part of that. I think that is one thing that it's Japanese people may not realize if you're living in Japan, because it's a part of the culture, but that's something that I've learned and recognized, not because I've lived abroad, because I've been outside of Japan, been something that I cherish in terms of shared space.
Mhm.
Alexander, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. By the way, Akira, I love your background. It has dream there as well. It was beautiful. So we have a little time more. We have about 15 more minutes, or maybe actually 5 or 10 more minutes to do the wrap up. But I noticed that the Trang was putting sometimes the heart there and was participating with her agreement of certain things, with their agreement of certain things. And I'm wondering, I know that Kuyen, who's also representing the art of hosting and helping us with that. So she's very busy, I'm sure, with the work on that regard. But if there's anything that either of you, and thank you, Yuko, also for making the space for them to participate as well. And although they weren't formally on the grouping, but I think if there's anything that from Vietnam, anything that resonates or that you find a little different, or that you say, these are lessons that we can bring forward based on everything you've heard that Yuko has helped facilitate here.
Thank you very much. I'm so resonate with about surrender to nature. When I heard she said about how the Japanese learn to manage ourselves from the nature. So nobody tell us to manage themselves as long as they learn from the nature. That is a really touchful story for me today. In Vietnam, where we used to very proud of about our rich of natural resources, but time after time we become so much urbanization, and we come to the time that we face so many challenges with about the environmental issues. So now it's really a very critical time to unlearn and relearn how to lean on and how to rely on the nature in such a very challenging way. So it's so beautiful for me, this session. Thank you. I pass to Jen if she had anything to say.
Same as Donna, I felt really resonated with the notion of having no retirement from the stories you share. And because my parents also just started their retirement as well, and there's a huge fear of becoming useless, which is really ridiculous. And in my grandparents' time, when they live, actually, I think anyone who has lived a communal life knows that, like in a village, elders become someone that other people often come to for wisdom, and I think that's so beautiful. And it's never considered a job. It's not a consultant, an advisor. My parents, with a lot of years of experience, they are looking to be like consultant or advisor, and like only by doing something that is recognized on paper and get paid for it, to make them feel like they are really useful. And it's really hard for them and many of my uncles and aunts to accept that they can just be themselves and be there and enjoy life and supporting the younger generation in whatever they would like and explore life in their own way. And that is enough. And it's kind of weird to see how like society define what makes an useful person and what not in our world nowadays. And I've been thinking about how to reverse that. Yeah, I put the talking piece back.
Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing. And Violeta, I see your hands up.
Well, let me be as short as possible. I mean, when you mentioned that Japan's been a continuation of 2000 years of history, and if I imagine as a European, then the Roman Empire would still exist today. Yeah, it's almost unimaginable. Coming from the place that in the last 2000 years have seen so many winners, and every winner rewrites the history, which means that we are really struggling with understanding what truly the history of the nation and the land is. But so how do you think this ongoing continuation of your history and being able to remember is impacting your attitude towards the rest of the world, or also impacting the relationship between you, people of Japan? just one quick story. When we had a meeting in Japan, and we were really treated and hosted with some traditional rituals and cultural events. For example, this over 1,000 years old tradition of sliding with the wood down the hill. And it's still the same as it was 1,000 years ago. And, you know, people still do it the same way. And regardless of how dangerous it is, this tradition is continuing. So what does that mean to you, really?
And
Okay,
just for, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Actually, the almost of the Japanese don't have the answer to your question. I mean, we continue because our ancient passed to the baton to us. It's very, very simple understanding to us. It's like a traditional, it's one of the way of transition to the culture and culture to next generation in Japan. It's in Baba, and we respect the elder people very much. So we have many small festival. As you mentioned, there are some big festival continue more than 1,000 years ago. So yeah, we have, I can't explain well, but we have a mind. We need to continue the history or culture to next generation. So then from the childhood, parents and grandparents teach us like that. You just join. You just to be one of the role. You needed to pass next generation. It's one of the education to us. Hope to answer your question.
Traditional. I mean, the question is very important, and I try to consider that what is the traditional. But today, actually, today is a day to appreciate the old, the generations to the grave. So the Japanese, not only Japanese, I believe, but the people, or it is good. It is so that the people should appreciate the old generations, and then because our life is continued from the old generations, that if your parents and your grandmother and the father and the other, or more than that, more older generation are not exist, if will not exist, you are not exist. So that all the time I believe in Japan there are several events that we should appreciate your old generations, and then, but not only to that old generations and their traditional action, as a traditional action, we all the time appreciate the like Yuko said, the shared spaces, appreciate to the everything, and the desks or something at the house itself, and then everything, and like as if you watch the 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿 on the 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿 to the clean up and the houses. That she also said traditional things is that the appreciation, I mean, might be keyword in Japan, but I think it is not only the Japanese style that people people forget the appreciate and then thanks to something and thanks to everybody, and people will be lower. Now that they don't have maybe any lucky things, so that I'm not sure that this is the good answer, but I just come up that the traditional, if I think about the traditional, is that the appreciation to the everything and to the old generation.
Thank you very much. And I think that's the best way to close it up. Like appreciation and pass the baton to the next person. I could not set it up any better than that. So with that being said, thank you very much everyone for joining this hour. And again, thank you for Alexander, Violetta, and a whole entire team at Connectathon for creating this space. And thank you so much, Mima-san, Yasuda-san, hontou ni arigatou gozaimasu. And I'll pass it back to the Connectathon team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. And we are going to take a little bit of a break right now as we transition to the next one. I will be then being the bridge between this session and the next one. And
just stop recording, please.
I will. And just so you know, the next session is going to be on the politics of being. So right now we're going to take the break, and please feel free to come back in 4 minutes.